Here's a professionally made but unnecessary intro. So let's talk about figs. Let's talk about figs.
Well, it's a chilly day here in Oregon. Was out this morning doing some winter prep and have wanted to make this video for a while in terms of giving advice to newer collectors. And I still consider myself to be a newer collector. I've been at this for about 4 years now. And so, as a status update, I'll tell you as of November 22nd, 2025, I have 232 varieties of figs that I grow. And currently I have 49 of those in the ground, and I've got the rest in pots. And some of those are duplicated in terms of the ones that are in the ground. But I want to go through some thoughts that you should, as a new fig grower and potential obsessed fig collector, decide on things ahead of time so that you don't fall into particular traps that many of us have fallen into. So let's say you've been bitten by the fig bug and you want to take it to the next level. So I'm going to go through a couple of things that I think everyone should consider. At the top of that list is budget. So admittedly, a lot of what I'm going to be saying here is very hypocritical of me because I didn't follow a lot of these rules that I'm going to put out, but I think these are considerations that everybody should take into account. So, budget. I'm a surgeon, so can I purchase things that other people can't? Of course. I think it'd be ignorant of me and a lie for me not to admit that. That being said, um, at least in 2025, I think I'm in the hole a shade over $500. And I added 170 varieties of figs this year. How do we do that? Well, it's about being creative. Part of it is getting things for free. So that depends on your locale. We have an amazing fig growing community here in Oregon. And within about 45 minutes of me, I got a lot of people who grow a lot of figs who just want to do trades. And that's what I did for a lot of these new ones. So understand that if you have a ton of money, you could go and skip that step and just buy plants and then decide what to do with them. But I didn't want to just throw money at something when, to me, it's the chase. So that's the first thing, is understanding that from a budgetary standpoint, if you're a new collector and you get sucked into these auction sites, you might be bidding on something that isn't even appropriate for your environment. So just keep that in mind, that budget is the first thing to consider. The second thing is space. So I have about a 3/4 to 1 acre area where I can grow plants on my property. I put 49 of them in the ground. And some of that is not planned very well. The first 19, well, the first 3 that were here when we moved here 12 or 13 years ago were big established plants. We moved one of the big ones, and then 4 years ago planted 19 in the ground. And they're about 6 feet apart, with the intent that we were going to keep them small. And for the most part, that's been successful. But if you're going to be planting in the ground, I think 8 to 10 feet is a reasonable space. If you're going to just let them go, you need more space, obviously. But if you're going to be actively pruning them into a tree shape, you can keep them corralled a little bit more. So you have to understand your space limitations as well. The next category is the types of figs. So there are all these different classifications. There are Adriatics, there are Mount Etnas, there are just straight sugar figs, honey figs, berry figs, San Pedro figs. These are all different classifications, not necessarily just based on flavor, but they are grouped together in different ways that help you organize your thought process. So understand that you don't need 11 Adriatic figs. You don't need 11 Mount Etna figs. So if you're just getting started out, lean on your community to find out what grows well in your area. I think that's a very important consideration. Um, I grow a lot of different figs, and a lot of those are going to eventually be culled because I don't need them all. And it takes a lot of work to do what I'm doing, and I fully admit that. Um, the next is, and this is arguably one of the most important, is understanding your climate and understanding how late a particular variety is going to ripen. So, what do you need to know? You need to know your growing zone, your USDA growing zone, which is largely based on how cold your area will get. But that's not the only factor. It's not just about your growing zone, it's about the number of growing days you have in a season. So I'm in 9A, and there are other people in 9A that might be in Texas or in the Southeast or in other parts of the world. But they may have 20 to 40 extra growing days because of the length of their season. So you have to take that into account. Um, I have a in-ground fig, the Franken fig that I posted on, that was here when we got here. And I'm looking at it right now. There's 100 figs that are bright green and half dollar sized. They don't ripen. So that fig isn't a good choice for our environment, but I didn't have a say. So I'm converting it to add varieties that I know will ripen. Um, there are definitely figs that I've put in the ground that, in retrospect, don't make any sense at all. Um, and there are others that have, thrived. So white Madeira #1 is a great Adriatic fig if you can get it to ripen. We stuck it in the ground in a prime part of my yard. It gave me like 2 or 3 figs this year. There's like 50 on the tree that won't ripen. So this winter I'm going to dig it out, put it in a big pot so I can give it a head start. So you have to know the time of ripening before you decide if you're going to commit to putting it in the ground. And if you don't have the ability to give it a head start in a garage or a shed or a greenhouse, even if it's in a pot, you might not benefit from having that variety if it's not going to ripen with your climate. So, what else do you need to know in terms of building a nice collection? Well, you've got to build friendships. You have to know the people in your community and also online. I've met some incredible people in my community. And when I first started getting into this, I leaned on, 5 to 6 different people. Eric and Chris and Tobiah and Jonah and Josiah and other people in my community who were very generous. Greg out on the west side gave me gajillion cuttings that I used to build my collection. And do I need 8 Sicilian red figs? No. But I traded 7 of them for other varieties I didn't have. So I grew them and I rooted them and I took care of them. And a year later, I was able to trade them. I also started selling things on FigBid, just kind of for fun, but might as well. If you have all these extra varieties or extra duplicates, turn them into something different. So understand that developing those friendships is very, very important in building a collection. If you're an a-hole, you're going to have more difficulty. So don't be an a-hole. And be generous with what you've got because that will pay itself forward later in karma. And then if you're buying from people online, go with trusted sellers. And I'm happy to give people those recommendations, but I got burned a couple times chasing a variety that was hard to find and turned out it wasn't actually that variety. So reach out to the sellers. Even if something's not on sale, email them and be like, hey, do you happen to have, this XYZ? I know you sold this before. Can I buy this from you now? And see what they said. It can't hurt to ask. Just be cordial. So what are the mistakes that I made in retrospect? Well, definitely putting things in the ground that weren't appropriate, spacing things too closely together, and more than anything, being impulsive. I mean, I get caught up easily and getting onto an auction and it's exciting, it's fun, but you also have to take a step back and understand that maybe you don't need the super rare once a year plant that's going to sell for $500 when you have 4 plants at home, right? Build your collection, be deliberate about it, and um, and just have fun with it no matter what you do. But just some thoughts I wanted to put out there. If you have other recommendations and tips, drop them in the comments because I learn still from all of your guys' comments as well. And I hope you all are having a wonderful day. See y'all later.